he, I was just there to listen, man. I really did build that rapport. Um, I let him know, like, yes, the owner is thinking about selling this place. I'm thinking of getting it. Tell me about it. And we talked, and he told me his whole story. And by the end of it, he says, I would love for this place to go to someone like you.
All right, what's up, you guys? I know if you guys get a chance, please go ahead and use the chat feature down there and let us know where it is that you're tuning in from. I know me, I'm here out in Los Angeles, and go ahead and let us know your Instagram account as well. That way we can kind of stay connected, follow up with you, and stay connected outside of the webinar today. Also, we do have a Facebook group. I'm going to go ahead and post the group right now. So if you do want to stay connected, if you have any questions about real estate investing, any deals that you're kind of actively looking at or thinking about taking down, and might just need an extra set of eyes on it or something, do connect in there, and feel free to share any wins that you guys are having. If you guys are having any wins throughout the week that you just want to share and let other people know about, a great place to do it is on the Facebook group there. It's an opportunity for other people to maybe catch your win and be like, man, that's a win that I could also accomplish, and maybe feel the same way that guy felt or that girl felt when they were able to hit that win. So please do share your wins, share your questions, and feel free to be active in the Facebook group if you have any questions about real estate investing. Speaking of real estate investing, today we are going to be talking about some deals, specifically deals that we have actively taken down. And we're just going to kind of do a deal review to get an idea of where that deal is, where it stands right now. What are kind of things that have gone on with the deals, and give you guys a inside look at a couple of our active kind of flip properties that we're working on right now. So what we'll do is we'll have a couple of special guests, and the guests are going to be guests that are kind of working with us on those projects. So first and foremost, we're going to go ahead and welcome on Kayvon, and Kayvon's going to join us here as a panelist in just a second. And when he does, we'll go ahead and share my screen and kind of do a little bit of a dive into this specific deal. The deal that Kayvon and I are working on is going to be our Joshua Tree house. So what's up, Kayvon? How you doing, my man?
What's up, brother? Just getting situated here.
Awesome.
Hanging. How are you?
Well, we can see you and we can hear you. We appreciate you tuning in today. I know you're in the middle of getting some work done out there on the project. But in the meantime, again, we do appreciate you joining us and giving us a little bit of your time here. So a couple other deal makers here on the call, probably in the same position as you, Kayvon. I know you have or had a full-time job, kind of coming into real estate investing. So do you mind just giving us kind of a quick background on, what you kind of do, where you've been this last, couple of weeks, and where real estate kind of, falls into your passion? We can't hear you. You're on mute, but we can see you.
Well, I was going to do this sitting, but I might have to do this walking to find the best reception out here in the middle of nowhere in the desert. Can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine, man. Thanks.
Cool. Sorry if I go out again. I'm trying, no Wi-Fi in this house because there is no electricity either. So, so I am an actor and a photographer. So I got two full-time jobs. I do photography on the weekends, and then I act on TV shows whenever I can, whenever I get lucky enough. And so COVID was an opportunity where neither of those things were going on. So I studied up on real estate investing, and, here I am a year later. So it's pretty exciting.
And, again, it's something where you kind of studied up, right? And we were talking about this yesterday, right? There becomes a point in the studies where the studies have to end and you have to actually just start taking some action, right? We call it analysis paralysis, where you just get in that point where you're, constantly reviewing something. And it's like, well, if you're just reviewing to not take any action, then you're not going to get any results, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I feel like when I jumped in, it still felt premature, it still feels premature sitting here in the middle of this rubble of this house we're working on. But I just kept hearing podcast episode after book after anybody I heard talk about real estate saying that you just got to jump in and make it happen. So, I did that, what seemed prematurely to me, but I mean, that's the name of this game, I think, is just jumping in and making it happen. So I'm so grateful that I did. And so glad I met you guys too. It's been amazing.
Yeah. And again, I think, when we dive into this deal here, we'll kind of get people a chance to kind of specifically see, a little bit more about the project itself. And before we do that, kind of give us a little bit of insight on where did this property kind of come from, right? So it's out in Joshua Tree, and we'll pull it up here in a second and kind of run it through with you guys. But where did you get the idea, Joshua Tree? Where did you get the idea to do the marketing, and what did you kind of do in terms of your marketing?
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing I did out the gates was hit LA in my neighborhood, like North Hollywood, Studio City, with a driving for dollars campaign, print, just snail mail. But I just, I got like 2 responses. Both of them were, well, one of them was F you. The other was, how embarrassing, I received this on Christmas with my family. How dare you, embarrass me like that in front of my family? It was just like that. So I come to Joshua Tree all the time to climb rocks and hang out. I just love the area. I've been coming here 15 years. And I met a friend who's a wholesaler who was wholesaling here. And he was talking about how fertile it was, a year ago when I started looking. And so I switched to this market. He also told me how he was doing a texting campaign. And he passed along the software, told me about PropStream. I mean, I'd heard about it, but I'd never used it, and hopped on that the next day, and fired off, I think, about 1,000 texts. And Will, you and I yesterday, what did we figure out? This place has around 2,000 houses.
Yeah, around 2,000, maybe 2,500 homes, 7,500, 10,000 residents, right?
Yeah. So, I left out the, Will and I were joking, up in the hills, it's like the Beverly Hills of Joshua Tree, where like the multi-million-dollar homes are. So I kind of left that out of the criteria, but I just hit anywhere down here near the downtown area and surrounding areas. And I caught the tail end of a market that was affordable, I think, and got lucky and found this place. Of the 1,000, I probably got 10 people who were willing to sell at a discounted less than market value. In retrospect, I wish I could have bought all of those. But on literally day one, the guy who owned this house texts me back. He says, $190,000, not a penny more, not a penny less. And I'm like, what? Okay. So I put that in my back pocket. Stupidly, I should have jumped on it on day one. And about a week later, I came back around, was like, can I come look at that thing? And he says, well, there's a tenant in there and he's a pain in my ass. He hasn't been paying, and no running water. But yeah, if you want to go talk to him, go for it. Am I going too far? Am I taking this too far?
No, we're still hearing you. You're going perfect. We can hear it all.
Cool. So yeah, so I drove out here, met the tenant. He was like, yeah, it's time for me to leave. This place isn't livable anymore. I haven't been talking to the owner. He and I are strange. Like we hate each other. And I said, so you're willing to leave? He's like, how much are you willing to give me? And so we discussed it a little bit. And I said, $5,000, would you leave? He's like, absolutely. So I left this place 3 or 4 hours later, texted
by
the
the
owner.
way, what was the first sign that it was unlivable when you drove up? Like what was the first thing that caught your eye?
Well, there's no garage door. And this dude's a hoarder. So, I mean, there was just crap everywhere. It was obvious. This is the type of place you would hit up with a driving for dollars campaign for sure. It was beat up. So yeah, left this place, contacted the owner, said, hey, tenant's ready to go. Should I go a little bit deeper into this? I mean,
yeah. I mean, so obviously, like the tenant, that's a big part of things, right? Because acquiring a property, with a tenant that's not paying rent, that's something that's been pretty prevalent right now during the pandemic, right? A lot of, tenants are finding themselves out of work, and a lot of landlords are finding themselves out of rent, right? So it kind of, puts that stress on the relationship. And that's something that you were able to do by just saying, hey, let me drive out there. Let me try talking to this guy and see what I can do. So I think, that really is an important component of it is, being A, willing, and B, open to going out and negotiating and having conversations with people. And yeah, like Joaquin's saying, like, going out there and being willing to talk about, hey, can we do some cash for keys for this, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I came out here and I spent probably 4 hours with the tenant. He cried in front of me. He told me how hard life has been. He, I was just there to listen, man. I really did build that rapport. I let him know, like, yes, the owner is thinking about selling this place. I'm thinking of getting it. Tell me about it. And we talked, and he told me his whole story. And, by the end of it, he says, I would love for this place to go to someone like you, and flash forward a month or so, once we get this thing under contract and the tenant decides he can't find a place to live, and now he doesn't want to leave for the $5,000 we initially agreed upon, and starts getting litigious with me, saying, I'm pushing him out of his home and whatnot. And I said, whoa, I'm not pushing, I'm asking kindly, and I'll pay for it. And you did say yes, but understood. But to spare you guys all the details, when, a month after that, we do come to an agreement, the original $5,000 agreement that we originally agreed upon. And I think the fact that he had that day with me, that first day where I was open and had sympathy for him and his situation, and listened for 4 hours with him, and he cried, not on my shoulder, it was COVID, but I think that was the moment that made him finally say, you know what, let's do it.
And you mentioned rapport, right? And like, that's when you build that rapport. So sometimes that seller and tenant relationship is just deteriorated. Like, this guy might be going through some hard times, and the seller is just thinking like, hey, I need rent, right? Like, I have rent payments to be made. I have my mortgage payment to be made. So, there might be that breakdown. And so you being that person that puts, an ear to the shoulder, like you said, not COVID, but, gives him that time and listens to him, that gets his blessing, right? And so sometimes you do need multiple parties' blessings to make a deal like this kind of work and move forward, right?
Yeah. I mean, if it was all business when I came in here and just said, yeah, I'm looking to buy this place, how much would you let it go for, bud? All right, thanks, bye. I swear to you, we would not have gotten this deal.
Wouldn't have worked, right? It was, hey, let's work with you. Let's figure out how we can make this happen.
Yeah. And I let him know the whole time, like, look, damn it. Am I cutting out?
No, you're good. I'm cutting to the share screen now.
No, I thought that was me disappearing again. Yeah. Anyway,
let's look at this property a little bit deeper here, Kayvon. So again, Joshua Tree, for those of you guys that don't know, as Kayvon mentioned, it's right out here in the desert area of Los Angeles. So you come out, you go out the 10 East, and the 10 East will take you out to Palm Springs if you go south. And if you go north, this whole Joshua Tree National Park area is just north or south, depending on which way you go there, right? And the town of Joshua Tree is located here to the north, right near this northern entrance. This is the main Park Road, Park Boulevard, that goes through the park from the north side down to the south side here. And so, when you're in the park area there, this is the first place that you kind of enter and exit is that Park Boulevard. And this is really the downtown Joshua Tree area, right? So the Beverly Hills, as you mentioned, the kind of the nice hillside properties up over here, these are kind of more of your Airbnb rentals, short-term rentals. This guy was a long-term tenant that was living in the property. So, these are more of the rental properties that were kind of built closer to the park after this main part of the town was built. And so when we looked at this particular property, right, you mentioned sold for $190,000. That's what we were able to purchase it for back in May. And, even just looking here on the Zillow values, which I never fully give credit to. The Zillow estimate on this thing could get up to 436, right? Just off of Zillow. This has gone up and gone up pretty significantly in just the past couple of months, right? So when we look at our property, as Kayvon mentioned, it did not have a garage door when he pulled up. These bushes were all dead and gone. A lot of this stuff had kind of fallen into a state of disrepair, right? The typical driving for dollars campaign house of your dreams, right? So when we kind of initially looked at this, Kayvon had gotten a chance to get out there, and I'll pull up the deal calculator for you guys real quick here, just so you guys can see this. So this is at 190,000, and if you were to go in there and put in 436,000, which is the Zillow number, and our rehab estimate is call it around 75,000, and call it 180 days, maybe 150-day turn time. That's about 5 months, so we're coming into October, and this is kind of on the initial first glance, what this property could end up making, right? So let's take a quick look into the MLS, and we'll kind of run a quick set of comps here, guys. And this is, again, what we kind of do a quick and dirty, during the middle of the flip, just like we do at the beginning of the flip. We want to kind of get there as we're getting closer to relisting the property, or, getting ready to do our disposition route. We get to the point where we want to just review the property one more time and get an idea of, hey, what kind of final finishes do we need to do? And Kayvon, you've been, doing just a masterful job of managing the rehab out there. And, I'll let you tell everybody a little bit about the rehab concept right now here as we look at the comps. So with the rehab, what was your kind of, style and design and concept from there? And where did you get some of your inspiration?
Well, I mean, I got a lot of inspiration from Airbnb itself, staying out here myself, having a friend with a couple Airbnbs out here. I'm not reinventing a wheel out here. It's nothing that unique. I mean, it's going to have its own little unique features, but I'm trying to provide a space that's fun in every room, something fun to look at out of every window, little activities. Like we put sliding glass doors in the bedrooms where there weren't any before, so you have access to the outside from your bedroom. Just little things to make it a little bit more cush and resort-like, We're putting a bar.
You go out there pretty regularly, so when you go out there, that's kind of the trend when you rent a place out there for a weekend of hiking or weekend of climbing, right? You're going to come home and probably see some of these same features that you're mentioning.
Right. And Joshua Tree has, as I'm sure some of you who have been here know, its own kind of culture and style. So I'm not trying to stray from that. I'm trying to stay within that and create kind of like a desert bungalow vibe, slightly mid-century inspired, but really down to earth and timeless. I don't want it to feel like a 2021 flip. No vinyl flooring, no black and white exterior paint. I want it to be custom and feel cute and have a personality, versus just a nice home for you and your family.
And a lot of the homes out there have names, right? Like they have that aesthetic, they have that feel, they have that, kind of that vibe. And so, again, you're not going to be able to name a house that's just like, well, what is this? Oh, generic flip. It's like, that doesn't really sound good. I want to stay at one of the houses out there that sounds like the Roadhouse or the Side House or, something really fun. Like, so, when we looked at the, the comps on here yesterday, just so you guys can get an idea here, what we're kind of looking at is, and I'll zoom in here a bit. We're just running about 180 days. Our property, Kayvon, is what, about 1,150 square feet, 1,180, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we'll go with 1,300 or less square feet. And you guys will see when we, kind of chop this on here, why I'll do that. Right. So, and then I'm going to go to $450,000 or more. And we'll just go to the, agent one line page here. And when you sort by these, you'll notice that 455, and then we're looking at the square footage here. Well, really, there's only a couple of houses that are looking like they're over 1,000 square feet. A lot of these are just smaller 2-1s, 1-1s, and Kayvon, we have a 2-2, right?
Yeah, 2-2.
Which is a really desirable layout if you come out here with some friends for a camping trip, because each kind of person has their own bedroom, their own bathroom. So when we look at some of these, even if you look at this 2-1 here at 495, what do you notice here, right? This is what Kayvon was just mentioning, the aesthetic, the vibe. It has a different look. It has a fun patio. It has themes in the rooms and the bedrooms, kind of this resort-like feel, right?
Right.
And, again, this is about 1,200 square feet. It's on a similar size, lot. And this thing went in 6 days at $495,000. And that happened just about 4 months ago there. So pretty wild when you see a number like that. We'll go back to the Agent One line display and look at some of these other ones that are in the, again, 1,200 square foot range. We can look at some of these right here. So this is Altamira here. Again, 3-1. Let's not do that one because that's a 3-1. So I don't actually like that one. Well, let's look at some of these 2-1s, because again, I think those are going to be our most comparables. So when we just keep kind of looking down here, Sunburst, 2-1s, smaller livable space, does not even have a garage, which is going to match ours because we're going to convert our garage into kind of a little fun game room area. And you just look, and this is, again, a themed but still kind of generic, property. Nothing special in the backyard, right? And Kayvon, what's our plan in our backyard?
Yeah, well, the kitchen is going to have a window that flips open so that you have a bar to sit at outside of the kitchen sink, outside of the kitchen window.
So imagine this window kind of pops open, almost like
right.
an ice cream truck window, right? It pops open, right. It swings out, and you can,
right.
Serve a margarita right out the window to your buddies, right?
Right. And then just a nice table and chair setting for a beautiful outdoor dinner just beyond that. And then definitely throwing a hot tub back there, and a cowboy tub, which is just basically like a metal feed tank that, made for horses or whatever. But now it's kind of the trend to fill that full of cold water and have an alternative to a pool that's much cheaper and
sometimes
cool
after a day of hiking in 100 and plus degree heat, it feels nice to get into a pool of cool water as opposed to a hot tub, right? So give people that either or option when they get off of their day at the national park.
Right. And then each of the 2 bedrooms that now will have, well, they now do, as of a couple of days ago, have sliding glass doors, will have a stone pathway around the house to that hot tub. So you don't have to go through the living room, through the kitchen and out and around to get to the hot tub. You just leave your bedroom, hop in, and come right back to your bedroom, take a shower, clean up, whatever.
So this was one of our favorite comps that we saw yesterday, right? Because this is actually like literally, a block or so, a couple blocks over from our house. Sold for $499K, went in 61 days. And it went just a couple months ago. But this, property right here is the exact thing we were talking about, right? This is your generic, laminate floors, stage, did a little backsplash and some, floating cabinets. But this is not a Joshua Tree aesthetic, right? The backyard, nothing going on there. I would not call this the house that you're looking to come home to after a day climbing or out at the national park. Would you agree?
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, interestingly, the Airbnb market out here is so hot that I'm sure it would do just fine.
Probably would.
But I know that whoever buys that or bought that is probably gonna come in there and do a little bit of a remodel, even though it was just remodeled.
Little addition of some feng shui in there, right?
Yeah.
Now this house is right across from us, and this is very, very much so Joshua Tree, right? The garage door matching the pink door, the different kind of throwback colors, desert colors, older 70s vibe. This is kind of similar to the deck that we're going to do. I think our deck's going to be a little bit taller, a little bit more multi-level, and a little bit wider, obviously, because it'll have the hot tub and pretty large cowboy tub in it. But again, similar kind of style here with the pavers. So it's not like we're reinventing anything, right? It's just, hey, these are things that other people are seeing success with. We'll have a fire pit in our property as well, right?
Right.
So really fun vibe here. You can tell this is, again, a typical kind of, property that you're going to see out here. This went for $504,000 just a couple of months ago as well. So you guys, can kind of see that, when we look back at our calculator, that 436 number, really that might now be coming up to maybe something more around 499. And really to get there, Kayvon, we might end up doing a little bit more on our rehab budget. Maybe we get up to about 85,000 or so on there. But really that's not a bad end of day on a property like that, right?
Right. Yeah.
And we have some new builds. So this is a 2021 that kind of gives you like, again, hey, if you wanted a new property out there, you could get one and it would be going for about 515. So that again kind of gives us, and this is still only a 1-1, guys. So like this is, if you're coming out to Joshua Tree, you can have a small 1-1 that looks like a regular flip, new build 2021, or you can have this aesthetically pleasing, house that again is going to have a name and have a feel and a vibe to it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So these are
Yeah.
some of the comps that we've kind of used as ways that we're able to kind of dissect the property. I just want to open it up, guys. If you have any questions, please fire them away in the Q&A. If you guys have any questions on anything that we did here in regards to the property here in Joshua Tree, how we kind of go about that. I know there were some questions on the calculator, and I appreciate you guys in the chat letting everybody know that you can get that there in the Facebook group. But we basically, we use this calculator to make our decisions when we're buying into these types of properties. And we'll do this again as we get prepared to list the property or dispose the property, however we're going to do that, because we want to know, hey, what are we shooting for? And what are the finishes that we need to do? And, Kayvon's done an exceptional job of picking out the finishes. I got a chance to kind of take a look at them, and this house is going to look very aesthetically pleasing as opposed to just kind of your standard cookie cutter flip, right?
Yeah. Going pretty custom on everything, gold trim on everything, and fun colored tiles in the bathrooms, and yeah, all that stuff you see on Pinterest.
Yeah, a lot of Pinterest, a lot of inspiration from other Airbnbs. Just like you said, not reinventing the wheel or anything, right?
Right. Yeah. And, like hanging chairs in each of the bedrooms, hanging chair in the living room, hammocks outside, just lots of places to relax, read a book, and like get away from your housemates.
And we talked about that. You might want to do that after walking in a national park in the middle of a hot desert for a day. You might just want a little bit of space and a place to hang out. So guys, I got a couple questions coming in, and I'll run through the calculator for you guys one time here, just so you can see. We have 3 models, right? The best case, the worst case, and the base case. So I always start at the base case because that's what we're going to go for. And then, again, we know that our ARV could maybe go higher. We know our rehab could go lower. And so those are the kind of other numbers there. But your purchase price, that's what you're going to buy it for. Your resale price, that's what you're going to resell it for. And then your rehab estimate, that's how much you think it will cost and how long in days you think it will take. And usually we come over to here to get that number. So this is a sum of 133 days. Kayvon, I think our rehab estimate is going to end up being about 90 days. We had about 30 days of hold time with the tenant in place. Probably list it for 14 days, 45-day escrow, those are all pretty accurate. So I'd say we're actually going to come in at a little closer to 180 days when it's all said and done on ours. And so what that does, guys, and that was the question that we had in here from Mauricio, is this number here, 180 days, that is going to affect your costs of the property and your profit as a result of that. So when you hold the property for 180 days, what's going to go up is not your lender points, because the points are an upfront charge, but your interest is going to go up. So we're now paying 180 days worth of the interest, and your utilities are going to go up. So those will both go up. Those are your holding costs and the cost of money, right? So we are going to have to borrow that money and we're going to have to pay that interest the longer we hold it. So that says 6,372 right now. If we were to bump this up to 250 days, that number would drop $4,000 because we're now paying $2,000 extra and about $1,400 extra in utilities. So does everybody understand how that's the costs of holding the property? What we have to pay, again, is actually in addition to bringing this down payment to it, you also have to bring, and I think we had about a 20% down payment on this one. So you also have to bring together that money to hold the property, and then you have to bring the money to do the rehab itself. And so those are a lot of the costs that are going to be associated with holding that property. So hopefully that answered your question there, Mauricio, and any other questions you guys have, feel free to let us know. The cowboy tub, we got a couple questions coming in on that, Kayvon. Do you mind just kind of letting people know the cowboy tub, what does that kind of entail? I'll see if I can find one in here while you let people know a little bit more on the description on that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everybody's seen one. Maybe you just didn't know that was what it was called. The cowboy tubs traditionally are a big oval. It's like a feeding trough outside of like a store or a old Western town where you pull your horse up and let it drink, but they make them in a perfect circle now, and they come in all different sizes. They're all usually about like 3 to 4 feet deep, about 3 feet deep. We got ours, it's 8 feet across. They come all the way up to, I think, 12 feet across. And yeah, you just fill it full of cold water. You can put some people put pumps in them. You can get like a pump on Amazon and retrofit it to filter the water. But my friend who has a couple of them at her Airbnbs says it's just more hygienic to put a drainage pipe and a hose and let them fill it. There you go. That's it. That top right corner is about exactly what we got. Yeah. So yeah,
again, these are fun little areas to come down and relax and cool down, right? Again, it's a cool tub.
Totally.
Water will be water temperature when you add it in there.
Right. And you put it right next to the hot tub so you can, bounce back and forth when you get too hot or cold. It's just a nice option. It's hot out here. Like right now I'm sweating. It's, 90 degrees. But a couple months ago it was 110 out here. Well,
yeah, we heard you say it was 110 the other week and it's about 93 right now.
Yeah, and you just need a place to cool off, especially if you just went and climbed at the park all day. It's like it's kind of mandatory. I follow the company that we bought it from. It's actually in LA, and it's getting more and more popular to have them in houses in Los Angeles too. So that's something to consider. I can find the Instagram handle either right now, or maybe I'll put it in the chat when you interview your next person.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a pretty cool company. They deliver it to your house.
And again, that kind of goes right in with the next question that came in, which is like, how are you rehabbing, funding this rehab budget, right? And so a lot of this stuff is we order it on our credit cards, on our budget, on our dime, and then we're able to get that refunded from our lender, right? So we do what's called a draw process, and you actually did one of those today, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you want me to explain it?
Yeah, so explain it, because Mauricio is wondering, we don't have a general contractor that's out there. So a lot of it has to do with your lender and your relationship with your lender. So our lender works with Alex on a lot of our properties, and they know, hey, when these guys do a deal, they're probably going to hit it on the point, right? They're probably going to get our money paid back in the timeline that they said they would. And so for us, they allow us to do ours without having a general contractor do it. We just provide receipts and or quotes or estimates from ourselves. So Kayvon, we did a tree estimate on one of ours, right? And we got some money back for some tree demolition. And what did we end up doing on the trees?
We had a guy come out here with a bobcat and pull out maybe 5 or 6 tree stumps and removed a bunch of big bushes that were just ugly. And then he graded the yard.
And so he just provided us with a quote at the end of it that said tree removal, grading of property, and we're able to submit that to our lender and send some pictures of it. They ask you to do a photo verification which is what Kayvon did today. And that kind of gets you through that process. And they're, they look and they go, wow, well, those trees are gone. They weren't there, a couple of weeks ago when we took our initial photos of the property. So you've definitely done some work there, and we can get you that money back for that. So, that's how we're able to kind of work about that.
And, out here in the desert, it's hard finding help like it is everywhere, I know right now. But some of these guys I'm hiring are like just the dude down the street who says he can do some work, doesn't have a, a company or a license, and isn't sending me invoices, to do his like yard work and whatnot. And in that case, the lending company does have like their standard value on what it would take to pull out a tree. They even if you paid more for it, if you don't have proof with a receipt, they're going to give you what they know tree removal is worth to them. And
look, they're not going to give you $2,000 for a dumpster when they know it costs $500, right? It has to be within range and within reason. So
even if I paid $2,000 for it, but if I don't have the receipt for it, they're going to go with what their lowest estimate is. Yeah.
So, man, I appreciate you jumping on with us and kind of diving into this deal. It's definitely a deal that we're excited about and excited to kind of get to the finish line. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to kind of connect. Kayvon's in the Facebook group, and he's a really smart dude. He's somebody who's taken some massive amounts of action since kind of educating himself up on real estate investing, and could be a good person to kind of lean on if you have any questions. And I know his shoulder is available. Earlier in the day, right?
Yeah. No, hit me up, guys. Like, sometimes I'm bored, so I'm happy to help if I can. Obviously, I'm still on my first property, so like I can help you as much as I can help you, but I'm nice. So
yeah, and thanks, again, you have this one going and one going out in in Tennessee as well. So you're doing a little bit of out of state investing as well. So again, a really smart dude, and definitely somebody I would recommend connecting with. If you guys have any questions on looking out of state, out of area, because although this is in LA, it is about a 2.5 hour drive, and it's somewhere that if you didn't have, your 15 years of experience going out there, we might not have been as confident going into this deal, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, spending the physical time out here has been invaluable. The place that I've got in Tennessee going right now is a new build, so I'm very hands off with it. But if I had to manage a rehab remotely out here, we would be in trouble.
And those are the things you kind of learn when you're kind of getting into these, right? Is take some bumps, take some bruises, but make sure you take some massive action to get to that point, right?
For sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate you. I know you got a busy rest of the afternoon out there. We appreciate you jumping on, man, and we'll catch up soon, all right?
For sure, love it. Thanks, Will. This is fun. See you guys. Hope to meet you all.
All right, my dude.
All right, kick me out.
So guys, we will go ahead and jump in here with our next guest in just a second. Before we do, I just wanted to jump back on here and share my screen real quick and show you guys the Facebook group, just so you guys can see that in case anybody did not know how to get there. The Facebook group is Ask Alex, the webinar. It's a private Facebook group. So if you can't find it, it's called Ask Alex, or Alex Camacho TV, Real Estate Investor Group. And in here, you'll find folks, dropping questions, dropping estimates, trying to get some help, looking for wholesalers. So if you have any questions or you're looking for any help, definitely a good place to go. You got a lot of eyes and a lot of ears on there that can provide it for you. If you're looking for the calculator, just head right over here to the more section and hit files. And, we have a purchase contract on there that we use on our deals. We have some notes from our masterminds that we go to, some other stuff that some of our guest speakers have left in here. And then the calculator down here, you can download this calculator and then, go ahead and kind of mess around with it when you are, running some deal analysis on your end. So if anybody does have any questions, again, I do recommend kind of checking out that Facebook group. Good place to get some resources and information. In the meantime, though, guys, we are going to go ahead and welcome Mr. Nick Mobley to the conversation. He's got two of him on here, so I'm not sure which one we are going to get on, but Nick is going to be talking to us about another property that we're working on. This is one actually out in another portion of the desert. So there he is, Mr. Mobley. How are you, my man?
What's going on, guys? Man, it's hard to follow up after that last flip. That is a project, man. That's like an investor's dream out there. You guys know. So we got Will in here holding down the fort. This is running.
Yeah, and if you guys don't know, Alex is on a boat right now with Mr. Brandon Turner and a bunch of other investors. He's going to try and tune in at the end. He's just out in the middle of the Hawaiian Ocean. So he has no service. He has not been able to tune in just yet. But yeah, man, we got me here, we got Nick here, and we got another deal to review with you guys, right? Woo! So tell us a little bit about this deal. Like, what's the or before we do, Nick, let us know a little bit more about you, right? I know you're, again, a deal maker that's been taking some action. Give us some insight as to what you kind of were doing before you got started doing real estate investing and what you're doing now.
Okay, so what's up, guys? My name's Nick. Before real estate investing, I was doing door-to-door sales, so like solar, windows, stuff like that. Before that, I did construction. I was like operations management for solar companies. And so I started getting in like about a year ago into real estate by listening to like Bigger Pockets and stuff like that. But I realized like every day you can listen to a podcast, but like doing nothing about it is not going to do anything in your life. And so I'm just out like knocking doors one day, and like we consistently get yelled at. It's like normal. But like this one guy yelled at me right after listening to a podcast, and I was like, does this guy even know who he's talking to? Like I'm better than this. I don't need to be doing this. So called my wife. I was like, hey, I'm quitting. I got this. And she was like, all right, like let's do it. So yeah, that was about 4 months ago. Started taking more action. Back then, I was just like Facebook calling realtors, trying to link up with like wholesalers and stuff. And we ended up joining Ryan Pineda's program, and that kind of like was the kick in the butt because it was a lot of money. And so like, because me sitting there just like looking up stuff on Facebook and like trying to connect with wholesalers was like not enough for me. And so I wanted to learn more about the business and take more initiative. And then we ended up getting a deal from a realtor. I was like blown away that like just one call landed me a deal. And we ended up giving that not as a wholesale, more of like a finder's fee to another flipper in this area. Huge mistake. Always talk to your peers first because it made us money, but the flipper ended up like 3 months later flipping it and making like 100 G's like really easily. And so I was like, shoot, okay. But anyways, we learned, we got paid, and we got this deal, the one we're going to talk about in La Quinta. We got it from a wholesaler, and yeah, so that's me. And I guess my background, I have sales and also like construction experience. Like I have a lot of experience dealing with like cities with the permit planning, and then also dealing with contractors. And it's crazy for people that are getting into this with no experience, because I like when I started construction, like I could not talk to a contractor. I was like, every time I was like telling my boss like, hey, why are these guys so mean? Like why don't they listen? Like why do you have to babysit them every day? And so learning all of that, learning how to deal with cities, and then also learning just sales in general. I feel like I'm coming in with like a good funnel, and now it's just taking consistent action. I think the biggest thing too, guys, is being consistent. And one thing I've noticed, and I feel like a lot of other people know this, but you don't have to quit your full-time job to do this, because I'm realizing majority of the time I'm spending a good 2 to 4 hours of solid work a day to get those consistent hours in.
Yep.
So if I would have known that, I could have done real estate in like the afternoon or something, you know? So yeah, there's people out there doing full-time jobs and like super successful at real estate. So it just depends on what you want to do. And for me, I'm the type where I need like really strong pressure to perform well. So when it comes to real estate, I was like, you know what, I'm going to quit so I can focus. And that's what landed us this deal.
So, and I love how you pointed that out, right? Because again, it's not just like you jumped into this with no, backing, right? You have some prior sales skills. You've gone door to door. You've probably seen a lot of distressed properties before you really knew what they were. So you understood like the difference between walking down a block and seeing the nicest house versus seeing the worst house on the nicest block. And then of course that background in solar, right? So solar, you deal directly with contractors that are installing this equipment onto these properties. And so, again, you kind of have some background there, which, again, is a solid footing to jump into investing and puts you a lot further ahead of the game from, other folks that might be just jumping in without that prior knowledge. So let's talk a little bit about this deal, right? So it's from a wholesaler, and the property itself located in La Quinta. So it has this, kind of beautiful mountain range that surrounds this area. And we were looking here at the aerial view. So you actually have a couple of really, big golf courses that also surround this. So a PGA course, a couple of resorts over here to the southeast, and then the La Quinta Citrus Club, some country clubs. So a lot of really, nice homes are kind of down in this particular pocket.
Yeah.
And guys, for those that aren't familiar with La Quinta, this is actually just the south side now of where we just looked. So we were right up here in Joshua Tree Town, and now we're coming down to the south side of the Joshua Tree National Park into Indio, Palm Desert. This is where Coachella Music Festival is, right here in Coachella Valley. And
Let's
so,
go.
yeah, so this is the Coachella area over here, and this is where our house is. So, again, this is an area that you could, possibly do some short-term rentals. I know they're definitely cranking down and tightening down on Airbnbs out in this area, but still a great place to live as well. And so when we kind of look at this property, the first thing you notice is it looks a lot like most of the other properties in the area, right? So it's actually a newer build. When we looked at this thing initially, what was the number that we were looking at on this, Nick?
For the ARV?
No, for the purchase price.
It was 300 originally. So when we first saw it, it was on a holiday weekend. So I think no one was like on Facebook. So that was like my advantage. So I contacted the wholesaler and I was like, are you sure like is this like a bidding war? And he was like, yeah, it's a bidding war. Like, so, cause I was like trying to figure out like, why is the price so low? And so we are looking at comps in the area between like 450 all the way up to like 650. This is the issue with Palm Springs, guys. When you're in like resort areas, is you're going to have so many different ARVs. So it depends on you as the investor to be smart and figure out what you want to do with that property to match those comps. And so
matching the comps, right?
Yeah.
We talked about this with Kayvon, right? It's not like we're reinventing any wheels, right? We are just matching something that is already existing, something that already is shown in history is selling for this much. We just want to match that and say, hey, if they sold for that much, we should be able to do that and get that much as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So being smart with your comps and being smart with your max offer. And so Will and I was still pretty new. This was like this was like 2 or 3 months ago.
Yep.
I was still like not very confident with my numbers. I think I didn't even have access to the MLS. Shout out to Mark on this call, the realtor that got me access. So the investor now, he's not even a realtor anymore. But anyways, I didn't even like know how to use MLS that well. And so jumped on a call with Will. We were seeing the varying ARVs, and even the lowest ARV was still going to be good. So we quickly called the wholesaler and said, hey, like, let's not wait till the end of this holiday weekend. Like, we'll put in our offer at 330, but you have to take it now. And so he ended up saying like, that's fine. And we got it locked up, which we're lucky because after that, he was getting offers like way higher. So I think putting the pressure on him and trying to get it locked up, we did good. And we knew there was going to be a tenant. We knew sort of the condition. We didn't even have pictures yet. There's a lot of variables, but what's cool with Will is he was like, let's do a cash for keys. Let's all of this on the calculator too.
Let's
guys.
run it
So,
all, right? Let's run
yeah.
all the
let's put in
scenarios.
like the worst case scenario for everything. And so it spitted out a good profit that we both agreed on. We're like, let's do it. So we had our max offer of 350. We got it for 330. And yeah.
330, and we had on here at about an estimate of cash for keys. We ended up paying 10K.
Yep.
Cool. So when we look at this, we were looking at about a $330,000 purchase price, right?
Yep.
And we had a $10,000 acquisitions fee, guys. So this acquisitions fee, this can also just be called, cash for keys, right? This is what you're paying in addition to what you have to pay to acquire the property. So this is going to also have to come out of your budget, and this will come into the cash investment. That's going to also affect the money that you have to bring to the table, right?
Yep.
So $10,000 cash for keys. We were initially looking on the MLS, and when we were looking on the MLS, our house is a pool house. So we were looking at other homes that had pools in the area. And we were looking at homes, again, we're saying at a starting of, 450, right?
Yep.
So when we kind of look at the map and we look at pool houses that are within that kind of price range there. Let's see.
Yeah. So another thing, I think you clicked pool. No.
Yeah, that's what I did. I did no pool.
Oh, okay. Another thing, guys, is when looking at the comps, you had the fully rebuilt Palm Springs, beautiful flat black, natural wood, like really nice houses. And then you had literally just stock like 90s cabinets and everything. And so with us, we saw the two variables, and so we had two options, and so depending on how long we were going to have the house to kick the tenant out. And then also Palm Springs is like a summer destination, and mid end of the year destination. So we're trying to factor in like, hey, how quick do we want to get it back on the market while the market's still hot in that area? And so I don't know if you want to like jump into this portion, but we decided to just wholesale it because of the condition it was. It's funny when you guys mess with the calculator, the way they.
Yeah, so I was going to say, let's show them on the calculator the difference, right? Initially we thought we might have to do about 50K of work on this thing.
Yeah.
And then we were going to get maybe a 550 price, right? Yeah. And we said it was going to probably take us about 150 days. And I think it wasn't 50K. I think we had about a $65,000 rehab budget, right? Somewhere around there.
I think it was
75,000. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause we were doing
we were going to do it all. Yep.
Yeah.
So we were looking at this and we said, man, we're going to hold this property for 150 days. We're going to have the pool. And actually our utilities on this one would probably be more like, I want to say 12 or 13, because, again, we have that pool, the pool payment, the landscape payment, things like that. So we were looking at some numbers like this, right?
Yep.
And we said, well, you know what, that's good. But what if we were to just do the wholesale method, right?
Yeah. Cause there was a comp. I called the listing agent and I said, hey, what do you think about this house? How were you even able to sell it? So there was a model match, same condition, still had 90s cabinets. Like it was crazy. And it was sold for 500. And he was like, we talked to him. He looked at our house. He looked at the pictures. He said he could sell it all day for above 500. So after seeing that and then seeing the current comps, we were like, hey, let's just wholesale. Let's just put it back on the market, get it cleaned up. So we had our whole team was working on it. We had like the pool guy, we got landscaping, we did the inside. What did we do on the inside? Like
that one guy ended up coming with a truck and cleaning out the whole house. It was like a one-man.
So we just called like a bunch of people, just quick action taking, everything with receipts. We're like, I know how Alex is, so we want to make sure it's all good. We also, I was out there at like 1 a.m. getting the cash for keys. It was an awesome experience. But when we look at the numbers, it's like
about the same, right?
Yeah. And I don't even think we spent that much on the rehab, did we?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, that's what I'm saying is even if we estimated like a 25K, rehab, which, was probably what we estimated. Like, I think we actually came in close to around like 18 or something like that, like 17, maybe even 13. I'll have to check with the final numbers. So, we are going to end up holding it a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But still, nonetheless, like, it looked like, hey, without us having to do much work to this property, we can probably make around or similar to what we would have made if we went in and did all this work anyway, right?
Yeah. And what's cool with Alex is he's a risk taker like most of us. And so this is a great number, but it's Palm Springs. So you could get some crazy guy in there that's going to be like, hey, they see it. It's exactly what they want for their vision. They're going to be like 525, 550. And so even if it was worst case, we sell at like 450, you're still going to make a lot of money. And we didn't have to do much. We didn't have to do a lot of leverage or anything. So it all worked out really good. And a lot of people might be confused about the cash for keys and why it was so high. The type of tenants they were and the whole situation. In an investor's mind, the quicker you can get someone out of the house, like for sure. Like, yeah, we could sit there and probably have like tried to like get the guy in court or maybe even get less, but like that $5,000, let's say we gave him 5 instead of 10, but it took months more, you know.
And that's what we
And-
found, right, Nick? But
Yeah.
most people want either the time or the money, right? And so
Yeah.
in our case, we'd rather give up money than give up time.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's quicker to pay because we know we want to get it back on the market as soon as possible in that area. So that $5,000 or 10 or whatever is worth it, you know.
And again, when we look down on our rates, we're normally going to be down here, guys. The rates that we get, depending on where we are, if it's in core LA, which this property is, it's not in a rural designation area. We're typically getting about 1.75, maybe 8% on this one because it's a desert property. But we're usually right in that one and a quarter, 1.5 to about 7.25, 7.5, 8 on our lending rates. And so, again, for us to hold the property for 130 days is, it's expensive, but the numbers, as you mentioned, like we could end up getting that person. And the other big thing for us was the pool, right? Everybody, if you go out to the desert, that having a pool just adds so much value. And if you look at these, so I'll click back to the criteria. We're looking at homes within 0.5 miles in the last 300 days that sold for 450 or above. If we go down and we click this back to no pool, we're going to go down to 1 total match. So you can really see how high of a value that pool, and I'll show you guys that again by switching it to private pool. We're now jumping up to 22 homes in this area have now sold for over 450,000. And the peak is like, mid 5s to 6s is really kind of where we're looking at in that core areas, the 5s to 6s, depending on what your home looks like. And, when we looked at our home, like our home is in this similar square foot and in these similar builds, like we have a 1990 build, so we have a 3.2. We could add a bathroom if a flipper really wanted to come in and take it down and add some value, you could do that. And we have that same size lot. And so, when you look at these properties, we could add a jacuzzi on our pool. We have that same small backyard back there. This actually looks like one that they added in the front of the house. So this is one that was added post the house. Usually you find out in these lots out here, when you look at them from above, that there's 2 styles of lots. There's the ones that have, the grass and the lawn out front and the pool in the back, or there's the ones that have the pool in the front, like our neighbor, and no backyard. So again, we kind of found that, hey, it looks like people will put a premium on having a pool in the desert and, for obvious reasons, right? Any questions on that property? Again, guys, Nick is just like Kayvon. He is an open book. You ever want to connect with the guy, you can connect with him. He's, always active and posting what he's doing and what he's kind of doing in terms of action. So keep a lookout for him and do connect with him, right? Your Instagram is probably best place to catch you.
Yep. And it's just my name.
Yep. So find him on there, get a connection with him. And if you have any questions, let us know because, these are both deals that we reviewed today are both desert deals. And, they're both deals that have the ability to make some money. Now they both came with their hiccups, right? We've had, working issues like finding labor, just like all across the country. It's at a tough place right now. We've had, the distance, right? We're 2.5 hours from getting out there. So it's tough to get out there on a regular basis, whereas something goes into, the LA area a little bit easier. So we did have one question coming in, Nick. And I'll let you kind of dive into it. What did we do rehab wise on this house?
So we had two options. One, completely gut it, just make it a masterpiece. That's how Palm Springs is for these like Airbnb properties. And just like the one we looked at looked like a flip property. That one was like 685, I think. And so we could have made a huge profit, but you're taking a huge gamble, lots of months of time of work and stuff like that. And so with us, we saw there was a comp down the street that sold for 500, and it was just stock. There's nothing great about it. And so with us, we cleaned up the backyard, we cleaned up the landscaping, did some work on the pool, on the inside, just cleaned up. It was a really trashed house. It's been lived in for like 13 years or something like that. And so by the same tenant. So we went and cleaned up all of that. And then that whole front yard was like, you couldn't even see the home. It looked like someone lived there for 13 years. So we took down the bushes, made it super clean with some DG and stuff. And yeah, sometimes you don't have to do like a crazy amount of work. So always check your comps and then run the numbers. Because like we said, like the first numbers we looked at for a full rehab, the profit was around 90. And then on ours, it's like a baseline of what was it? Like a baseline of like 90 to all the way up to 120, just depending on what the offers that are coming in. So always look at your numbers, and then yeah, always reach out to other people, other investors if you have questions, because I could have fumbled with this one, and maybe like at the time, like I couldn't fund it myself. So if I fumbled and like got nervous and lost it, someone else would be having this conversation. So I've always been the non-greedy type. Like if I can just get something moving so I can learn quicker and take less on it, I'm fine with that. And so that's what we did with this. And now we have a great team. Will taught me so much on like evictions and everything about the whole deal process. Got to meet the whole team. Amari's out there just killing it on the whole project. So yeah.
Yeah, and Amari, he can tell us a little bit. Like, Amari, how are we finding these landscapers, right? You're our project manager, and the property's out in La Quinta, and you're out here in LA. So, we'll kind of walk through for people, like, how are you able to manage a property 2.5 hours away? And like, what does that look like?
Hey, what's up, guys? Yeah, so I've been able to take care of the whole project from home pretty much. I have a day job. So pretty much what I did is I just attacked Yelp. I got about four or five contacts from Yelp, and then I just went ahead and called each one, and just build a report. And just taking care of your contractors, taking care of your landscapers, building report, treating them
We
nice.
get these guys paid like that. Like, Amari calls me and is like, the guy's done with work, and it's like, check's already in his inbox. Like, he was on there one night and he was like, Will, I'm going to send him the money right now. And I was like, yeah, man, it's 11:30 at night. Like, dude just finished the work at 11:30 at night. Like, he's going to feel stoked when he sees that money in his bank, when he pulls into his house, and he's going to want to come back and work with us. And we've had people come back and work with us on other sides of the project as well, right? And come back and help again and provide other referrals because of how well, we're treating these guys and taking care of them on time.
Yep. And then the landscaper recommended the handyman, which was an all-star as well, and then the handyman recommended another person. So, yep.
And all of this, like you said, from your home, right? So you're able to do this while you have kids, while you're still being an all-star dad, getting to soccer practice, getting out there doing the dad life, and still doing your job, your 9 to 5. And a lot of it, again, it's having trust, using referrals. We have a lockbox on the property, so you don't need to be there. You can ask a contractor to go out and give you a bid without you being there, and if they give you the bid and you like it, you move forward. So it's that's a testament to Amari for being able to knock that out of the park while being at home as well. And I know he's had to drive out there 3 or 4 times. But again, like, to be able to do that on a property that you're project managing is pretty good. Usually you have to go to the property, weekly, if not multiple times a week. And using referrals, we use pictures, right? So every one of our contractors, every one of our laborers, sends us pictures of before, middle, and after, so that we know and we verify, hey, this is what we asked for, this is what we want. And if it's everything we want at the end, check's going to be there in a couple of minutes, right?
And just have a good scope of work. My landscaper speaks Spanish, so Will, Alex, and I walked the property, got on Google Translate, and I was able to translate my scope of work into Spanish and then sent that over to my landscaper. And as soon as he's able to reply to my text message, we could all be on the same page.
Huge, right? So, guys, again, shout out to you guys both for jumping on here and sharing some insight. Hopefully all the other deal makers on here, we're able to take something from that and get some, get some value. I think, the big themes here, guys, is take action, right? Find ways to take action, not just to observe deals, but look at deals. And then, the other one, I love what you said, Nick, right? Like half of a deal is better than nothing on a deal. 20% on a deal is better than nothing on a deal. Taking the deal down is better than watching as somebody else, takes it down instead of you. So if you are taking massive action, if you are taking that time to review the deal, at least submit the offer, because if you wouldn't have submitted that offer on the holiday weekend, like you said, somebody else would be talking about this deal, not us, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, put pressure. And then you guys, when you need something done, like you said, good scope of work, send it to like 5 different people. Usually the people that are quickest to respond and that will answer your phone call, those are going to be your best. So like we needed a trash out. I contacted 4 people all within like 5 minutes off Google, just typed in trash out, sent the same text to every single one. And the person that got the job was the one replying the quickest. He could be there that same day. And like, you could just tell he was hungry for
wanted the job.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah.
And guys, I'll share this with you real quick. This is kind of what we do on our scope of work for our lenders. This is a property we, submitted one on that we didn't end up buying. Pretty basic here, right? We just this is our plan, right? And we do this by a match, comp for comp, like for like. We call it the green apple for the green apple, the Granny Smith for the Granny Smith. And if the Granny Smith had a new bathroom, then guess what? We got to have a new bathroom on ours as well. If Granny Smith had the new appliances, we've got to match that as well. If they had a deck, we need a deck as well. So we just kind of take those little pieces and match them back and forth. This is just one version of our scope of work, guys. Amari, we just use a little bit more of a standard one on the La Quinta flip because it wasn't as extensive. So that one was something that we were able to just kind of type up on Word and then copy and paste those into a Google Translate to get that over to the necessary parties. So,
and last thing I was going to say is just make sure that you as the investor know that you're in charge of this. And so every day we're supposed to be learning something new that pushes you forward. Same thing with your project. Don't just put it in one person, one general contractor, one subcontractor's hands. Always be checking in daily, because if you're not making steps forward, you could lose a whole week. And then all of a sudden that turns into a few weeks. And so just remember that this is your project and you should be pushing it forward every single day, getting something done. And so if someone's slowing it down or something, it's it's a good conversation to have with yourself and that person, and just make sure you're keeping it on track, because these things can lead out weeks, and those weeks add up really quick. So.
Yeah, and it sounds like a couple of folks wanted us to share the sheet. So Ailani, I'd be happy to do that. We'll go ahead and share that in the Facebook group, a copy of the scope of work. And maybe if you don't mind as well, Amari, loading on the scope of work that you did for La Quinta, just so people can see again the difference in how those look. Maybe we can even get Kayvon to upload a picture or two from our kind of design elements on that side on the property out there in Joshua Tree. And we'll have all those guys kind of load those in this week, just so you guys can see those and get an idea of what that looks like. Because again, this is Amari's first time project managing this deal. This is Nick's second deal. So this isn't stuff that has been going on forever for these guys. They're evolving their businesses and they're growing, their real estate investing careers. And it's just step by step, action by action, right? So guys, keep an eye out on the Facebook group. We will share a couple of documents this week with you guys. We'll catch you on the flip side. All right.
Peace. Thanks,
Nick, Kayvon, Amari, I appreciate you guys. We'll see you soon. All right.
Peace out.
Thanks, guys.